Hey everybody, Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here to give you an update on what's going on in the cosmos. Cosmological weather update, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to give you a forecast for the next couple of weeks because the new moon is coming up and it's a new moon in Virgo and it's square Mars and Gemini. What does that mean? Let me tell you. But first, I want to apologize for not doing a full moon in Aquarius update. It was a rough full moon. I think for a lot of people, it was a full moon with Saturn. Saturn represents the wall, it represents structure, obstacles. Um, it is the taskmaster. And basically, we were all asked to put our money where our mouth was at that full moon. So whatever you had with the new moon in Leo, that full moon says, okay, show me what you got. And for me, at the new moon in Leo, I said, I'm gonna get healthy because I'm watching this Mars retrograde in Gemini coming up, and that comes up in the fall, but it goes into its shadow even sooner. So, I try to use astrology in my daily life, and I thought I will set an intention to get healthier, to quit some bad habits. The new moon in Leo, it was in my second house, which is values and self-worth. And I was like, I'm going to have some better self-worth for myself and let's just quit these habits. I had a nicotine habit. I had I just, it was a good time for me to do that. The full moon came around and I had quit some habits and I got COVID and it was really bad. It was really bad. And, all I really wanted to do was kind of go back into some bad habits, I think, and I didn't. I was able to uh, stay the course. I think it was kind of interesting that that's how it manifested for me. This recent variant was not fun by any means. It was really hard, and some people are having an okay time with it. I did not. I still have a cough, and I'm I think 22 days past symptoms onset now. And I still have sinus congestion. So it just wasn't in the books for me to do a video for the full moon in Aquarius. And, I think if you did have a rough time, first of all, I'm sorry. It was not, easy for many people. And if you didn't, good for you, putting in the work. So I did post a little update about the rising signs on my Instagram, I believe, for that. So if you did want to go back and check where the full moon was for you, it's on my Ecstatic Astrology Instagram. And now here we are at the new moon, and I'm feeling better, although it has been a very long recovery. It kicked my ass. I don't know how else to say it. It was really rough. Um, I'm very grateful to be feeling better. And the new moon in Virgo actually is related to health. I find that interesting. Virgo is a sign that represents health, the body, service to humanity, routines, structure. It's what's called mutable earth. In astrology, mutable means changeable. It can shift. So when I think of mutable earth, I think of dust. I really do. And that Virgo is related to cleanliness and perfection. Sometimes it's related to anxiety. So if you have Virgo placements, you probably know what I'm talking about. And that's because you say, I know how to fix this. I have really good discernment. I know what to do. And if you know what to do, if you have really good discernment, if you really like to keep things clean, if you really are geared toward perfection, sometimes that in and of itself can lead to anxiety when we cannot make that stuff happen. And so that is the nature of Virgo. Sometimes Virgo can, lend itself to doormat syndrome, people who let people walk all over them just because they can do the work. Um, if you have, like I said, if you have any Virgo placements, and that means your rising sign, your sun sign, your Mercury sign, your Mars, your Venus, all of those things can be in a different sign. So check your chart. This is how to really use astrology. And I'm really grateful for astrology. If I hadn't quit nicotine when I did, which was like 2 weeks before I got COVID, who knows if it would have been worse, So it's just super interesting to me that you can actually work with these things most of the time and use it to your advantage. That does not get you out of fated events. That is a real thing. I believe Sam Reynolds says fate has two arms. One of them's yours. I don't know where he heard it, but I saw him tweet that and I love it. It's true. So yes, you still have to deal with the things that the universe presents to you that are no fault of your own, but you do have a choice in how you use it and how you deal with it. And so that's where astrology is helpful, I think. So it's also validating to know, if you know a time that is going to be kind of rough or kind of tense is coming up, then you can I think it's easier to make it through those times. I was able to use my own chart when I got sick and go, oh, I see it now. Even the best astrologer misses things because it is such a complex system of archetypes and associations. But in hindsight, I was like, oh yeah, this is dealing with my body. Okay, all right, I get it. Yeah. So let's move on from all this talk about how rough I had it. I'm a Cancer rising. I wear that on my sleeve, y'all. So now let's talk about the new moon in Virgo. Let's start fresh. I like it. I'm really done with this past moon phase. Even though the new moon in Leo is really actually setting us up for some creative expression, it's funny how that works out because the full moon in Aquarius was rough, but it was through that rough situation that I think the creative self-expression made itself present and known. So for instance, when I was dealing with my bout with COVID, I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do with my creativity. And I'm a musician, I'd really want to get this album done. I'm an astrologer, and when you're really tired and sick, and it just put my mind on my plans for the future, which is Aquarius. Because here I was thinking about how bad I felt and how awesome it is to feel good, and how when I felt better, I'm going to just go at it. Right? So these are how these things work out in reality. New moon in Leo, new interesting creativity, and it was really abundant. Full moon in Aquarius, that was rough, except it gave us a chance to contemplate our future and how we might go forward, and what structures we need to build in order to go forward. Okay, so new moon in Virgo, here we are setting intentions again for our bodies, for our routines. The Virgo sun phase, which is always when the Virgo moon phase happens. Virgo Pisces, you'll either have a new moon in Virgo, full moon in Pisces, or new moon in Pisces, full moon in Virgo. Those, when the sun moves into those places, you'll know where the full moon or new moon is going to be. So when the sun moves into Virgo, it's often a time, especially in the northern hemisphere, but I think even in the southern hemisphere, the seasons are about to change, right? It's like, okay, it's coming. And especially where I'm at in the South, it doesn't really get cool for a while typically, but this is a time, football is going to start and you start to make kind of plans and go, I want to purge, clean my house. The winter's coming. I don't want to be cooped up in this house in the winter with all of this stuff that I need to organize things. And I'm already feeling that push. Yes, football is a huge thing in the South. I don't hate it. I love it actually. So it's escapism for me. I love some football. But, even so, this also brings up health questions. Let's say it that way. The winter's coming, and during the winter in the northern hemisphere and in the southern hemisphere when it's winter, you have viruses that circulate to a greater degree. Everyone's cooped up in the heat inside. I don't like to be outside in the cold. So, it's a time to contemplate all of this. Maybe you'll get your flu vaccine if you're into that. Maybe start your elderberry regimen. I'm not here to give you health advice, but I am here to tell you that this is a great new moon to make intentions for your health, for organizing, for getting the details right. But there is a caveat, and that caveat is Mars in Gemini. So Mars in astrology is associated with motivation. It's your willpower, it's your action, but it is also associated with frustrations, um, conflagrations, fires. And I don't mean, yes, literally fires, but like think of that in yourself. Anger, it's the god of war. In Gemini, these frustrations, these motivations are geared towards data, communication, uh, processing that data. And Gemini is a very social sign as well. So we have the new moon in Virgo, and it's square to Mars and Gemini during this new moon. And a square is known as tension. It requires us to take action. So we are encouraged to, yes, we may need to set intentions for this Virgo situation, but we are also going to have to look at the Gemini area and go, there may be some pivoting that has to be done there. There may be more information or research that I need to do on that area. And things may change in that area. So that is going to cause maybe some tension with what we're doing in the Virgo area of our lives and our charts. What that theme has to deal with versus the theme of where Mars, which will go retrograde, by the way, like right at Halloween. And that's another piece of this puzzle. These two things are not working very well together, basically. And we're going to require action for this specific situation. So yeah, let me go ahead and tackle the Mars retrograde, because I think this new moon in Virgo is a good time to gear ourselves to that area of our lives, wherever Gemini is in your chart. And I will go through the rising signs here shortly. Because Mars retrograde, it's going to be long. It happens about every 2 years. And a Mars retrograde can be frustrating. We had a Mars retrograde in Aries in 2020 and into 2021. And actually on the last day of Mars in Aries at the anaretic degree was when the January 6th insurrection happened, as Mars moved into Taurus. And this was after the Mars retrograde, okay? And when it moved into Taurus is when the guy with the bull horns was on the TV, right? Taurus is the bull. So I don't take astrology lightly anymore after seeing. I mean, yes, I try to be lighthearted with it. And no, I don't think that we are, I'm not so grandiose as to think that predictions always come true and, you can always predict things. I mean, Uranus in astrology literally deals with unpredictability. So I do think that there is that certain, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, like that, and our free will that we bring into it. But also there is this, are things set up? Is astrology reflecting our reality? Is our reality reflecting the stars? Like, it's kind of bizarre, I don't claim to have all the answers, but that's how I look at it. I use it. I go, what is Gemini? What is Mars? Okay. So for this retrograde, Gemini is a lot different than Aries, which we had. Aries is war. And Mars was at home in Aries when it went retrograde in 2020, 2021. Okay. And Gemini is not that way. Gemini is information. Gemini is commerce. Gemini is the trickster. It is ruled by Mercury. It's quick. It's pivotal. It is duality. It is because Gemini is the twins. So what we're doing with this Mars retrograde, which will go from Halloween through January, mid-January. I'll give you those exact dates at some point. But that's roughly the Mars retrograde. It is like research on our desires, okay? And this new moon, while Mars is not retrograde yet, it is in Gemini now. The new moon is like saying, hey, we got to kind of like really get ready for this. And look at Gemini, look at Virgo. You know why? Because Gemini, Mars and Gemini will square Virgo. If you have anything in Virgo, it will square Pisces, if you have anything in Pisces, then it will oppose anything in Sagittarius. So it's worth it to go ahead and look ahead. And thank you, universe, new moon square Mars. We can do this before Mars and Gemini get started. Okay, one other piece of the puzzle before I go into the rising signs, and that is Mercury will go retrograde soon. Okay, so Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. The whole time Mars is in Gemini, Mercury is whispering in Mars's ear, wherever it's at, about what to do, how to act, more information. You get more information from the ruler of a sign, okay? So, which is why when Mars was retrograde in Aries, Mars was taking direction from itself. So it was pretty hardcore. But right now, Mars in Gemini, Mars retrograde in Gemini, it will take direction from Mercury. So at this new moon, Mercury is in the shadow of its retrograde, meaning it's already traversing territory that it will go back over. That is the shadow. So imagine, you know, you leave your house to go somewhere. Okay, we're leaving our house. You get to the stop sign at your neighborhood and you go, oh my gosh, I left something at home. You have to turn around. That first, I left my house, that's called shadow, because you're going to turn around and you're going to go back. That is what Mercury's at right now. It's the initial, I'm leaving my house. We haven't even realized we forgot something at home yet. Okay. That Mercury retrograde will span two signs, Virgo and Libra. So it turns retrograde in Libra, moves backwards into Virgo. It just looks like it does, by the way. It doesn't actually move backwards in the sky, but it appears to, due to our orbits and how they interact. It does in the zodiac, though. So we'll move from 8 degrees of Libra all the way back to, I believe, 27 degrees of Gemini. I'm sorry, Virgo. I can't remember. I'll also get that exact information for you. But at this point, it's already in a situation where we may revisit it. Okay. So this is why during this new moon, I'm going to say it's a time to get rid of excess, get rid of prune. Okay. Get rid of things you don't need, things that may confuse you or confuse a situation, things that, you know, may be stressful in your home, in your body, habits that aren't, you know, supporting you. All of these things are going to be something that you can kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit. Okay. And then also listen with Mars and Gemini. It is information. Communicate as clearly as possible. Don't, you know, dishonesty is not going to work right now. Being manipulative is not going to work right now, because it will come under review in a major way. One other thing I will say is with the health stuff, the reason I'm kind of pushing this health stuff as well is when Mars turns retrograde in Gemini, it will square Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter's retrograde as well, and it will square that. And to me, that looks a lot like a new variant of something, or perhaps an inability to contain a virus, and everyone's got to kind of pull back from being social. Obviously, I'm not clairvoyant or omniscient. I don't know the future. But I'm just reading this and I go, okay, Pisces is associated with viruses in traditional astrology. Neptune's there. Mars will square that in Gemini. Gemini is a very social sign. The other possibility during that time around Halloween, late October, when this Mars square to Jupiter and Neptune happens, is confusion, secrets, or maybe revealing of secrets, maybe getting information that we didn't have before. All of that is possible. I'm hoping maybe it's like a vaccine that works miraculously, or, something that they figured out about, maybe it's a better situation than, oh no, we may have another thing to deal with. I can't tell you for sure which, but it's something to think about and to plan for, and to say, I'm going to remain flexible. And yes, I can come to your Halloween party, but don't get mad if something happens because, I can't read the future. So making sure you're keeping one foot in, one foot out everywhere, able to pivot. No hard and fast plans. I'm not saying don't make plans at all. I'm saying be aware that things could change. Things may not happen exactly like we plan it to. There's eclipses in the fall coming up. And maybe I'll do a longer video about the fall because it is pretty full of astrology. But yeah, okay, so let's just go through the rising signs really quickly. By the way, Mercury moves into Libra, from Virgo into Libra today. The retrogrades are throwing me, man. And Uranus turns retrograde. So it's retrograde right now. Uranus is unpredictability, by the way. So the fact that we have Uranus turning retrograde so close to a new moon, and the new moon is, let me get the exact time of the new moon for y'all. No, I need the new moon software. August 27th, 3:17 a.m. in Central US time, which I will always be giving you dates and times from Central US time. So check your local time and date. So the new moon rapidly approaching. Saturday, basically Friday night into Saturday, we'll all be sleeping in the Central US unless you have insomnia during this time. So today is August 25th when I'm recording this. It's a Thursday at 2:30 p.m. and Uranus is retrograde. Mercury is about to move into Libra and it's in shadow of retrograde. Venus is in Leo right now with the moon, which is awesome. The moon Venus today, Thursday, August 25th, might feel pretty nice. Always moon Venus time is pretty nice. We do have a Venus opposition to Saturn coming. That may be a little squirrely, but I will go over all that after I go through the rising signs for this new moon. So the new moon, August 27th, 3:17 a.m. And at that time, let me see, will Venus be opposing Saturn at that time? Pretty close. Yeah. So that's a part of the new moon vibe, I will say. And that's something that I haven't really gone over. Venus and Leo is really looking for a good time. Okay. Opposing Saturn in Aquarius, this relates to like the full moon in Aquarius. Okay. Like that was rough. However, I do feel like Venus is a benefic and it's not necessarily like restriction on joy or restriction on fun, but it is a question of values. What do you value? Because it's also square to the eclipse points. So the new moon also, not only just new moon square Mars, but also Venus opposing Saturn square the nodes. Let me show you this chart for the new moon. I think it's going to be helpful so that you can see what's going on, and I'll draw this. Okay. New moon, here we go. New moon at 4 degrees of Virgo and square to Mars. That's this red line here. My line's blue, but the red line's here. Okay. And then that's just one part of what's going on, because at the same time at the new moon, Venus is opposing Saturn square to the nodes and Uranus. The nodes are where eclipses happen. So there is a lot wrapped up in this new moon that seems that it will carry on into the fall. This is a preview, this new moon. This new moon is a great time to set intentions if you're gonna. Like, I mean, it's a necessity almost. It's a necessity to parse out details, to prune your plants, to literally and figuratively, to think about this fall. What does fall mean? What does autumn mean for people in the northern hemisphere? And for people in the southern hemisphere, what does the change of seasons mean for you? I mean, you do spring cleaning even at Virgo time in the southern hemisphere. So it's just a good time to look at how we pivot, how we're going into the next season, and get really clear on our habits, what we have in our homes, our organization, our communication, planning, writing, lists, all of that. Okay. Now I will say with the Venus opposition to Saturn, Venus also, it represents values and love. It also, with the North Node in Taurus, And Uranus there's this change of values, right? So finances come into play also. And it may be like a good time to kind of like chill out on buying things, especially with Mercury in shadow. Again, that's not saying if you have plans to buy something, don't do it. It's more like check and double check. Make sure it's in alignment with values, your values. If they're changing, don't go, buying something that you used to like. And you're like, I've always just went to the store and picked up this specific brand of stuff because I like. If things are changing, think about it, honor it. Maybe you should change brands. I mean, this is like that kind of a situation here. So let's go through the rising signs. I have them written down so I can kind of get through them a little quicker than normal. Let me see if I can share my notes, if that's even possible, because it may be easy to really a lot easier to follow that around than to follow the chart around for certain people. So here we go. Notes. Okay. New moon in Virgo. We're going to start with 12th housers. Why not? We're going to start with Libra rising here. Make this bigger so people can see maybe. All right, so hopefully this will help people skip through the video a little easier. We shall see. All right, we'll start with Libra. Libra. New moon in Virgo for you is in your 12th house. This is where you're setting intentions. The intentions for the 12th house, you really can't make intentions for the 12th house. You can. The 12th house is just very abstract, okay? So what we're dealing with the 12th house is retreat, self-reflection, transcendence, release. This is a spiritual new moon for you. This is like getting very clear on your own intuition, your own discernment, your own dreams. Now, the tension and frustrations come in your 9th house with what you believe. Higher learning beliefs, new horizons. So it's square to Mars in your 9th house. And what I'm kind of thinking for Libra risings is that your belief systems may come under review, what you think is true. And that is due to perhaps some intuitive hit that you get from this 12th house, the dream world, from the spiritual realm. That's like, you're like, wait a minute, it doesn't feel right to me anymore. This belief, let's just play with an example. I believe in the Big Bang. All right. You have a dream, the Big Bang didn't happen. This is a ridiculous example, which is why I'm giving it, so that no one can say, hey, are you talking about me? You have a dream, the Big Bang didn't happen. And all of a sudden, that science doesn't seem to line up for you. Okay. Again, a ridiculous example, but that is a way that can happen. You have this intuitive hit, this or need to let go of something, including a belief, a narrative. Maybe there is motivation to learn more at this time and to open your mind and to adventure. So those two things are kind of back and forth. There needs to be some action there. I will say at some point when the full moon happens, the culmination comes out in your 6th house, which is your body, your health, your everyday life, right? So at some point, this is going to be a more real thing rather than this abstract idea. The new moon is a little abstract, but I would say pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to your intuition, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense at this time. It may not seem to make sense, but then that means you're going to have to take action to research, to learn, to contemplate new ideas. Okay. Now let's go to Scorpio. We got Scorpio here. Scorpio, this is new moon in Virgo, is in your 11th house. This has to do with your friends, your networks, long-term aspirations. So I always say goals is like one of the clearest examples of a new moon in your 11th house. What are your goals for the future? Also, the groups that you belong to, and getting very clear on that. Okay, so how does this come out for this specific new moon phase? The 8th house is where Mars is in Gemini. You have a Gemini 8th house. The 8th house rules empowerment, shared resources, sexuality. I mean, think about it. That is the greatest way you can share a resource. Your greatest resources is yourself, right? So if you're sharing that with someone, that's an 8th house topic. Marriage is an 8th house topic. You sign a contract to share each other's lives. So contracts fall into the 8th house. Business partnerships fall into the 8th house. Grants, loans fall into the 8th house. It is about what you owe and what others owe you. Basically, it is that concept. So there is a lot of action going on in that area. Mars will go retrograde there, meaning investments can come under review. So you're getting more information from this area of your life. Okay. The new moon in Virgo is like, if that is under review, if the way I share myself is under review, how do I need to move forward in my future goals with the people I surround myself with? Okay, so perhaps you either belong to a friend group or you feel like you have no friends right now. And that could have a lot to do with the condition of your Gemini 8th house. There's research going on there. How do I value myself and how do others value me is a big question for the 8th house, I think. So at this time, it's good to set intentions for your future, but also keep in mind the shared resources. Like, it's probably not a good time to just dive into a new business partnership. You need to really be discerning in your goals for the future. It's probably not a good time to dive into a new investment, honestly, not with Mars going retrograde in your 8th house. I mean, if you're a Scorpio rising or a Scorpio sun and you're about to get married, make sure you're being honest with each other and communicating before you sign that contract. If you are signing a contract for anything, that could come under review during the Mars retrograde. So when you are setting intentions for your goals, keep that in mind during this new moon and be very discerning, do the research, and that is the way forward. Sagittarius, new moon in Virgo. Oops, I didn't do the whole thing. There we go. This new moon in Virgo is in your 10th house, okay? Career, ambition, authority, public image, how people see you in public. Like, this is my outer self, okay? That is the 10th house. My career, my legacy, my public reputation. That's where new intentions, a new cycle is starting. Mars, the tension, the action, the frustration, the willpower, the motivation is in your 7th house. Relationships, cooperation, agreements. Some of that may come under review this fall. So if you have this new moon in your 10th house and a Mars retrograde coming in your 7th house, this could have to do with relationships at work, and how maybe people at work see you, clients. It could have a lot to do with even your relationships, your personal relationships, and how they affect your career. Either do they support it, do they not support it? But this has a lot to do with how you relate to others and how that may change, what research needs to be done there in order to push you forward in that career, or to have that place in your life be what you want it to be. So be discerning if you're at work and like you may think someone doesn't like you around this time. Like, this is a good time to go ahead and like be honest about it, get it out in the open. And then maybe during the Mars retrograde, what you get is a situation where that is resolved rather than having to visit it at that time because you didn't resolve it now. It's just a good idea to look at that. Now, if there are tensions and frustrations in personal relationships, maybe this is a time to pour yourself into your career while you're trying to figure that out. Okay. So it also may be a lot of motivation to, like, maybe, for instance, if you are looking for a new job, or if your public reputation isn't exactly as you want it to be, or people maybe assume something of you, this may be a good time to look at how you interact with others and how you can clear the air on that. Working on, like, for instance, interpersonal skills would be a good thing during this time. Mediation, how you appear to people, your own identity, really looking at that and seeing what, what that's about for you, who you want to present yourself as. Okay. Capricorn rising. This new moon in Virgo is in your ninth house, okay? The ninth house is beliefs, uh, higher education, travel, learning. So you're being asked to be discerning here and to prune what needs to be pruned. So like if you are a traveler, okay, if that's something you like to do, it is maybe a good idea to cut the excess there. Like if it's really not necessary to be traveling during this time, it may be good to look at that. Here's why. Mars retrograde and Mars currently is square the new moon in your sixth house: work, service, habits, health, and healing. So there will be a lot of activity there. And it could be things with your coworkers. It could also be things with your own health, with your own habits, your own routine. You're being encouraged to listen to that area more, to put more emphasis on that and do research on that area. Meaning, are your habits where they need to be? Is your health where it needs to be? Because that, if you don't, is going to determine some things in this ninth house area, what you believe about the world, what you how much you like to get out and explore and travel, adventure. That is a ninth house topic, right? So you're starting a new phase here with your health in mind, with your routine and your habits in mind. Maybe things have just been chaotic and it's time for you to buckle down and say, do I really need to be trying to escape this and travel? Or do I need to be looking at my health and my routines and actually buckle down and do some work here? Because frustrations could come at certain points in time around that, okay? So definitely during this time for Capricorn rise, it's a good time to tune into health, tune into habits. If you have any that you're looking to drop, looking to move away from, or if you have a new health routine you're looking for. Also rituals. What are your daily rituals? Very good time to consider those things. And then also what your beliefs are about that area of your life. Really open your mind to that. You may believe, I'm not good at meditating and I hate it. But if that's something you need, now is a good time to open up to it, to consider it, okay? Especially during this new moon. Okay, we're going to do Aquarius risings. Aquarius, new moon in Virgo is in your eighth house. So you're setting new intentions in the area of empowerment, shared resources, sexuality. So this is how you share yourself with others: contracts, business partnerships. You're being asked to be discerning here, to maybe prune the excess here, to get organized here. So if you have investments, and you've been like, let's just play with it. Again, we're just going to play with it. Your investments in Robinhood. Okay, like you've been buying stock, and you haven't really looked at it. This new moon phase will be a good time to put it in a spreadsheet. Okay. All right. So I'm just saying that area of your life, you are really trying to empower yourself during this moon phase, and it will be worth it. Now, Mars is in your fifth house. Mars in the fifth is a lot of energy, motivation, desires in your fifth house of creativity, courage, purpose, romance, children. This is a heart chakra place, okay, for Aquarius risings. This brings up inner child stuff. This brings up children. This brings up romance, and desires get really strong there with Mars. But the eighth house is like, is this right for me? How do I express this creatively and also maintain my boundaries, also maintain my self-worth? So for instance, I would say your values come into play around your creativity, around purpose and romance and children. If you have children, this could be about the investments you make in their life. If you want children, this could be about how you and your partner share that responsibility. If you are a creative and you are looking at Okay, here's a good example. I'm a musician. That's creative, right? That's fifth house territory. That's where Mars is for Aquarius risings. The eighth house would be investing in recording an album. These two things can be in tension in some way. So, it may be hard. It's like all you really want to do is enjoy yourself with Mars in the fifth house. But the eighth house is like you need to look at your investments, your contracts, how you're sharing yourself, your business partnerships, get it all set up. Get it all set up. Okay. Pisces, New Moon and Virgo's in your seventh house of relationships. Cooperation, agreements, could be clients, could be friends, could be romantic. You're getting very clear on what the routines are in that area, pruning that area. Now, Mars is in your fourth house of home, family, emotional security, and that's where a lot of energy is being directed. And that could be pulling on your relationships. It could be due to relationships. Like, oh, we really need to find a house together. Okay. My suggestion is to really go into that place of emotional security and do research there. How would you feel like, for instance, if you're not happy in your home or you're not happy with a situation, like maybe you live with your family and it's really, really like it's wrecking you. This is a good time to research that. What would make me feel good here? Because things will change in this home and area. Your desires will get more and more and bigger. And that goes for every rising sign. Wherever Mars is, the desires are going to build during the Mars retrograde. Okay. They're just going to get bigger and more inflamed. And that can create problems in the Virgo area. And that's why I'm saying, just get really clear on what you want and start to research it. Start to be honest with your partner, with your friends about what you need in the home area, what emotional security means to you. It could have a lot to do with negotiations as well. I would say for Aquarius and Pisces rising, negotiations in your romantic partnerships, how you share yourself, how you feel about a situation. We're talking about it during this time for both of those signs. I would say for sure be very clear and very honest about how you feel. Now, being that way with your family, especially for Pisces risings, may not be the, most fun thing. If you are living with your mother and she is driving you crazy and you need to be honest about it, well, that's a very Mars problem because it could bring up fights. But you have to look at the Virgo area, the seventh house. How do I relate? How can I do this with love? How can I do this with service to humanity in mind? How can my partner help me through this? Maybe I need to practice with my partner. Maybe I need to look more at my friendships and partnerships and get out of the house more or something like that. So these two areas, they're a little bit in tension. I will say that the full moon will happen in your first house of identity and self. So whatever, you're doing around this time, it's going to be about the emotional security and integrity to move forward in truth, in your own truth, in your own autonomy, and your own authenticity. Okay. For Aries risings, New Moon in Virgo is in your sixth house, work, service, habits, health, and healing. Okay. So very pretty clear cut. And that's where you're pruning. You're like, I'm going to make my habits be this way, my rituals, it all needs attention. Now, Mars retrograde and Mars during the new moon will be in your third house of communication, learning, siblings is another third house area, and community. Okay. So this area of your life could present some frustrations, some desires. Short trips are another third house topic, but that versus sixth house work, service, habits, health, and healing. It looks like what you're doing is figuring out how to make decisions about that. How do I make a decision about where I'm working, what I do every day? Also, siblings, maybe the communication with your siblings needs to be better. Maybe you're holding some of that frustration in your body. That's sixth house. So you're getting really clear on how you want your daily life to be, and you're thinking about it. You have to also be very clear and honest, listen to others, do the research of the third house. I call the third house the place where you learn to trust yourself, where you make decisions, but also where you do the research to do that. It's communication. It's the way you think. It's short trips. It's driving around. It's like driving your car. It's local community involvement. So there could be local community things that are frustrating you. It is essential to research and then also think about what your habits are, what your daily life is, because you're going to make decisions based on what's happening there. The full moon will be in your 12th house, which is letting go. So I think that there is definitely a decision that you're making about what do I need to prune out of my life here. And I think that this new moon helps you get very clear on it. But definitely keep an open ear and listen and do research during this time. Very good for you. For Taurus rising, this new moon in Virgo is in your fifth house, which is creativity, courage, purpose, romance, children. So what we're doing is we have this new intention to have joy, have fun, maybe towards a creative project, maybe towards being closer to our kids, maybe towards having kids. I mean, there's all sorts of, maybe towards being romantic with our partners. Mars in Gemini is going to be in your second house of your values, your money, your security, your self-sufficiency, your assets. Okay. So what it looks like is don't go spending a bunch of money because you think that's how to have fun. Okay. It could also be something opposite. Maybe with, maybe you're someone who doesn't tend to spend money on your own joy. These two things are coming under review. What do I enjoy? What is my heart connected to? And do my values, my self-worth reflect that? So Mars in your second is like, you're going to do a lot of research and have a lot of desires going on in this financial area. Okay. Your values, your assets. That will also come under review, but you're pushing for it. There's a lot of motivation there. The new moon in Virgo is like, yeah, figure out what how to have fun during this process. Okay. Figure out how to be connected to your heart during this process, how to be connected to your own creativity. That is essential. And then also what you don't need in this fifth house area, like, do you need, extra paintbrushes to be an artist? Second house, your assets, fifth house, creativity. Or is it something like, actually what I need is to go hiking so I can look at a landscape and paint it. I don't need a new paintbrush. I need a new, way to be creative. I need new ideas. Okay. So this is how that works. Also, relationships with children, if you have any in your life. Okay. This is about really tuning into that, because what you value, you may be valuing right now your own survival, your own security, and that could affect relationships you have with children in your life, either yours or stepchildren or nieces, nephews, children that you teach, whatever that is. There is a balancing act going on here. So it's something to think about, something to do the research on, and something to get very clear on, very discerning. That is Virgo. Get very discerning in this area. Gemini. This new moon in Virgo, Gemini risings are sun signs. That's what we do. New moon in Virgo is in your fourth house of emotional security, integrity, home, and family. Okay. The Mars square to the new moon and the Mars retrograde will be in your first house, which is independence, self, instincts, identity, autonomy, authenticity. I'm throwing out so many. It's you. It's how you put yourself out there to the world. Okay. There's a lot of motivation there. Maybe motivation to be independent, maybe motivation to really be yourself and authentic. That's going to take some work in this fourth house area. in my own emotional security, in my own, I mean, this is really about being yourself, and don't take, you know, others' ideas and apply them to you. This is, get clear on what you want, what comes from you, what reflects who you are. If you are taking ideas from others, it's not going to work. This is about maybe doing research on what you want, who you are, like you see, you have a friend who is, really good mathematician, and you always used to be good at math. You're looking for something new to do. And so you like, yeah, I'm a good mathematician. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of do this. Well, then you feel insecure about it. You're like, wait a minute, I'm not really being myself. This is, maybe they're doing it and they're doing it well. But maybe it's not right for me. Maybe I need to go back in and see what comes from my well, what comes from my own self. That is going to help you in your career. The full moon will be in your career area. The new moon is in your emotional security, home, and family area. So this is about like really tuning into your own roots, where you come from as a person and how you can show that to others. So you may do a little bit of identity shift during this time, during the Mars retrograde. That's okay, as long as you are secure in it and you are really getting clear on what makes me feel secure. What makes me feel like I'm good at home. Maybe you're doing some changes to your home. Maybe you need to clear out things in your home. Maybe you need to clear out some emotional baggage as well. That's what this new moon is for you. And yes, identity comes under review during the Mars retrograde in the fall. All right, Cancer rising. That's what I am. And I can really speak to Cancer risings because I go through it. New moon in your third house. The third house is communication, learning, siblings, community, local community, short trips, local community. Look, it's hilarious how much the third house does deal with local community. Okay. I have direct experience with this. That's where the new moon is. That's where you're deciding how to, what is this new phase about? I need to get very discerning with how I communicate, how I make decisions, maybe doing some new learning, some new listening. You may be busy during this time. The Mars retrograde will be in your 12th house. Abstract. It's very abstract. It can be confusing. It also has a lot to do with letting go into the confusion. Okay. Escapism, Mars in the 12th house. You may feel you need to release, to let go of something, and you're going to have a lot of push there. The third house is like, okay, first get really clear on how you think and communicate, because during the Mars retrograde, when things are confusing, when information is flying and bouncing off the walls for everybody, it's going to be a time that you need to be very clear. You need to be very sure of yourself and your own decision-making process. And the full moon will be in your 9th house of truth and belief. So this is a time to discern what your truth is. And if you don't know it's true for you going into the fall, it's a good time to get clear on it. It's also a very good time to purge your local environment, and to maybe make some connections in your local community. That's not a bad idea during this time. But yeah, I would say with Mars square to it in your 12th house, it could be like maybe hard for you to tune into. But I will say this, with Mars retrograde in the 12th, pay attention to your health routines and rituals, because the 6th house is opposite of that. Okay. So basically the Capricorn rising is also going to apply to Cancer risings, because the antidote for this confusion, for this lack of grounding with Mars retrograde in the 12th house, is rituals and health and routine and getting organized, getting that routine, set. So maybe this new moon in Virgo is good for that, for Cancer risings as well. And also, intuition is going to be really strong. You may be surprised by things that come out of left field during the Mars retrograde in the 12th house. Okay. So be ready to pivot. go back to your own truth, go back to this new moon time, and your own communication, your own decision making, because this will matter during the fall, what goes on right now. All right. Leo rising. This new moon in Virgo is in your second house of finances, self-sufficiency, values, security. This is like, okay, what do I value? What do I need in my life? What do I not need in my life? Do I want to spend my money that way? Do I not? Mars retrograde will be in your 11th house. That is goals, long-term aspirations, and friend groups. So self-worth comes into play here because there may be some squirrely stuff that goes on with the groups of people you belong to, with your goals. You know, you may have to do a little pivoting up there. And so it's very important to get very clear on what gives you security, who you are, what your self-worth is, and to really communicate that to others. That's what Gemini is. Do not take less than your worth during this time. For sure. Like, do not. Also, keep in mind that while you're getting very clear on your values and how much you're worth and your assets and your finances, your goals may shift and change. So if you are looking at your goals for the future, again, maybe don't make any hard and fast plans. May not be time to sink money into that, business idea. Again, I'm not saying not to, I'm saying to think about it, to consider it. What could change that would make that a bad idea? If that's a possibility, consider that, factor that in. The people that you will have to deal with during that time. That information is going to be overwhelming. There may be new people that come into your life and completely challenge your own self-worth and your own values. And you have to go, wait a minute, I got really clear on this during the new moon in Virgo, and I'm going to remember this. Okay, so that's for Leo risings. Virgo risings, this is all about you. I don't know what kind of voice I just did there. It's in your first house. This is self-independence, identity, your instincts, your authenticity, your autonomy, how you want to live your life, how you want people to see you. That is what this new moon in Virgo is. Mars, 10th house, career, ambitions, public image. So this has a lot to do with how Virgos are seen, both at work, at home, in relationships, in friendships. So this has a lot to do with communication for Virgo risings, okay? You may be questioning if you've drawn the right lines, like let's say at work. Maybe people have a different assumption of you than what you are used to. Or maybe you didn't put it out there, like, hey, I don't want to work more than 40 hours. I know I'm on salary, but that's not what I'm comfortable with, right? If you're not saying that now, career could get real squirrely in the fall, okay? And it may even feel like you're not able to be yourself. You're not able to be authentic and be independent in the fall if you don't get very clear on that during this time, okay? If you don't communicate that to others during this time, this is the time to say, this is how I want to be seen at work. This is how I want to be heard at work. And this is who I am. I'm that way at home and at work, and I'm not changing. Okay. Yes, maybe this is also a time to put on a little bit of a mask. I don't often say that, but like when it comes to Gemini, Gemini is the trickster. Okay. And if you need to get something done at work, yes, truth is important, and that may be important for you, what I just said, but you could also have a completely different chart than another Virgo rising. So I like to give different pathways. Okay. And because Gemini is the trickster, there may be a little bit of trickster energy going on at work. You may be more motivated, you may be less motivated, but the whole point is you have to tune into what you want and figure out how to project that image into career and into the rest of your life. So first, that means considering how you want to be seen before you can project that image out into career. So maybe you do want to be seen in your truest sense. That would mean being honest about who you are at work and career. Maybe you want to be more private and you are a different person. You want to be this ass kicker at work, but at home you're like not that way. So maybe it does need to be a little bit of tweaking, and you will put out this different image at work. But the career stuff, the public image, the reputation at work comes under review, comes under play in the fall. So get real clear on what's important to you, basically. All right, that is the rising signs and the sun signs. And now I'm going to go over the next couple weeks leading up to the full moon, okay? Stop this share here and talk about what's going on. So pull up my little notes, my other little notes that I've got. I did the whole year ahead, and I can't even believe that we're already here in August. It's just blowing my mind. Okay, so again, the full moon, I'm sorry, new moon is this Saturday, Friday into Saturday, really, the 27th. Uranus is stationing retrograde. Mercury is going into Libra around leading up to this new moon. Once we get past the new moon, that's where we're going now. So August 28th is Venus. I believe it's opposing Saturn exactly. That can feel a little like a bummer sometimes, and it's square to the nodes as well. And this is going to be Sunday. So, it may just feel like, okay, I got work to do. And additionally, this could also highlight the themes of the full moon in Aquarius that we had last month. So for instance, like I told you guys my story, I was sick, right? So Venus opposing Saturn could also be like bringing a little bit of a healing balm to that. Venus does bring gifts. So I would like to know your experience with Venus opposing Saturn square the nodes, actually. And if you have this idea that, my values are changing and what's fun for me is not what used to be fun for me isn't fun for me anymore. What I enjoy, that's all Leo. Okay. And that's Sunday after the new moon. August 30th through September 1st, we've got Mars sextile Jupiter. This is an interesting transit. Okay. I'll go in there on the chart so I can look at it. Yeah. So it's coming into that sextile. Sextiles are opportunity. And this is an opportunity to tune into truth. Jupiter is truth. This is an opportunity to communicate with support. This is an opportunity to tune into what's real, to listen, research, especially in regards to the Mars retrograde coming up. During this time is a good time to get real clear on that. So Jupiter in Aries is really about our authenticity, who we are as people, what our desires are. Mars rules Aries, okay? So this is, it's interesting. Mercury is opposing Jupiter at the same time during this August 30th, August 31st, September 1st event, okay? So what we've got is like a half, I call it a painter's knife. It's like a half of a kite, really. And this is really, it's really opportunistic. I really like it. It's a good time to be honest in your relationships, in your dealings with others. It's a good time to do research, to open up and communicate, and to speak your truth during this time, okay? And that is basically Monday. Actually, we're going to say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at its height. But really Tuesday and Wednesday next week, the 30th and 31st are when it's at its most potent. September 1st, we got the moon in Scorpio. And that has been a little bit of a yikes moment. And that's only because Scorpio is where the moon doesn't really like to be, honestly. And it's going to hit the south nodes. This is going to bring up eclipse themes. This is Thursday, September 1st. So just be aware, we're going deep on Thursday. And it could bring up maybe places where we need to let go of something that we hold on to emotionally. Maybe the way we share ourselves. Scorpio can be about that as well. Scorpio also rules obsession. So just be aware that the moon in Scorpio can be a little bit of a not easy transit. So that's Thursday and Friday, September 1st and 2nd. let's see here. I'm also looking at my notes. So then, yeah, we get opposite Mars and shadow. Yes, we do. We get Mars and shadow on September 3rd and the first quarter square of the moon. Okay. So the first quarter square of the moon, you have the new moon, which we just went over. And then the first half, when you see the moon is half in the sky, that is the first quarter square after the new moon. And it's the first adjustment. It's a time when we say, okay, we made these intentions, take action on it. So the thing about this first quarter square moon is that it's in Sagittarius. The moon will be in Sagittarius. It will also oppose Mars. And we're looking at September 3rd, okay? This is Saturday. So this opposition to Mars, which happens at about, it's actually early morning. We're waking up to it on Saturday. I would say it's at its height probably at 7 a.m. Central Time. But then the square of the moon to the sun happens at noon. So basically, this is all day Saturday, September 3rd. And this is a moment when we go, oh, I see what the themes of the Mars retrograde might be, because also Mars is moving into the shadow of its retrograde at the same time. So it's a little bit of a tense moment. It's a little bit of a moment where we go, is this what I believe? Is this what I believe? I need to go check this out and do some research, because Sagittarius has to do with truth. It also has to do with optimism. And with the sun in Virgo, which isn't exactly optimistic, I'm going to say, Virgo is like, get the details right. We need to be perfect. The moon in Sag is like, oh, this is why I just want to have fun today. I just want to let go. And like, why can't I? And then Mars and Gemini is like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So it's a lot of chaotic energy. I'm going to say that chaotic, tense energy, really. And this is, it's a weekend. So thank goodness for that. But just pay attention during this time, because it's really going to inform you on what's going on. Okay. It also could be a moment where we explode on people, just FYI. It's a good thing that Mercury is trining Mars during this time. So Mercury's in Libra, and what it's doing is that now I'm looking at September 4th. Mercury is about to hit the 8th degree. Mars is at 8 degrees of Gemini. So September 4th, Mercury is saying, hey, we can really communicate our desires here. It's going to be great, right? Actually, when is that exact? Does it actually trine it? It comes very close to trining Mars, but it doesn't actually trine it. And I'm talking about Mercury, the way we think, the way we talk, the way we communicate. In Libra, relationships. Trine Mars and Gemini, like, I think I can tell them what I want during this time. It should be fine. It's opposite Jupiter. Jupiter is going to make you want to speak your truth, okay? But we got a problem. Houston, problem. Mercury is about to turn retrograde, and Mercury actually never reaches the exact trine to Mars. Wow, that's some interesting stuff here. Like when you look at it and you see it happen, it's like we're almost getting to a spot where we feel like we can communicate our truth to others and our desires and say what we need to say. And then, maybe I heard something that the other person said, and I need to rethink this. I need to rethink this whole relationship, and I need to rethink how I talk to people, and I need to rethink, who I even talk to. Okay. That's really the nature of this. So, oh gosh, it's so interesting. I'm looking at Monday as really the height of this. Sunday, yeah, it's coming into it, but really Sunday doesn't look, the moon squaring Neptune. Sunday's kind of a spacey day, Sunday the 4th. So that's kind of nice. It's spacey. Venus is at the 29th degree of Leo, and by Monday, Venus moves into Virgo. Mercury is about to go retrograde. Okay. Mars is in the shadow of its retrograde. I think Venus and Virgo is going to be nice. Okay. And what we have is September 5th, Monday, actually Sunday night, the moon in Capricorn trines Venus, which is really beautiful, in Virgo. And it even trines Venus from Sag to Leo. So that's nice. As Venus is moving signs, the moon's moving signs from fire to earth. So we're big, fire, Venus and Leo, moon and Sag, and then we pull in on Monday, September 5th. Okay. And Mercury goes retrograde, and Mars is like, uh-oh, this is territory I'm going to revisit. I can tell. Okay. So it's Monday, September 5th. Venus is fine in Virgo. Okay. It can be small and it can be a doormat. But we do get very clear on what we love, what our values are. And I do think that's really good. But Mercury turning retrograde, we all know how much, how much trickster energy that can bring. So just get ready for it. Monday, it's about to station. Tuesday morning, moon's in Capricorn, it hits Pluto. That happens once a month. But it's Tuesday afternoon, actually evening, that it hits Pluto. We may have a moment of intensity during that time. It's just something to keep in mind. At the same time, I'm looking at when Mercury is going to go retrograde exactly. It goes retrograde exactly overnight, doesn't it? 8 degrees. Uh-huh. Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, I was looking for a minute because Mercury slows down and is at that 8th degree of Libra forever. So basically the whole week we've got a stationary Mercury. What does that mean? Okay. So what it means is Mercury governs the way we think. It governs the way we do commerce. In Libra, that's the way we speak in relationships. That's the way we relate to others, how we cooperate with our communication, what we hear from other people. A stationary, slow, stopped Mercury, it feels like a pause, in reality. Okay. I would be very, very clear on what I say to my loved ones and my friends during this time. What we say can have a huge effect. As we get towards, September 5th, September 6th, that's Monday and Tuesday, it's slowing down. At Wednesday, it's really starting to get to that very stationary moment. Wednesday, the moon's in Aquarius. We have a grand trine in air. Lots of communication, lots of talking, lots of sharing of ideas. Aquarius is future. Aquarius is large groups of people. And this grand trine, while brief, we're talking Wednesday afternoon, it does lend itself to lots of info flying around. Okay. That info is going to basically cause a reckoning. A grand trine is supportive, and it's actually a kite with Jupiter with the orb going on. And I think that means that we're supposed to really consider ourselves, our truth, our authenticity, who we are as people on Wednesday, September 7th. While we're communicating, while all this information is flying around, don't forsake yourself during this time. Don't forsake your truth during this time. But why I say it's a reckoning is because just after this, we've got the moon hitting Saturn. Saturn's the work, right? Saturn is the obstacle. And it may require some work. Mercury's turning around to go retrograde. We're going to have to possibly have to rethink how we're talking to people, the friends we deal with, how we're communicating our truth to our friends. But it's very relationship heavy, and also it's going to require some work, I think, during this time. The other thing to note about September 7th, which is a Wednesday, it's a hump day, is that the sun is interacting with the eclipse points. So this does feel pretty fated, this date. It is like, we can let go of something. The sun in Virgo is encouraging us to prune, to get very discerning about our lives, The North Node in Taurus with Uranus is like, hey, we're changing our values. The things we like, the things we used to spend money on, the people we used to hang out with, all of that's under review and under a change and upheaval, right? So the Virgo sun in a really good, it's sextile to the South Node, trine the North Node, is bringing it really into focus, okay? And helping us to let go, move away from the Scorpio disempowerment, maybe move away from the Scorpio secrets, okay? That's another thing that Scorpio can rule, is secrets. And so when we're looking at Mars retrograde coming in Gemini, you know, we're getting really clear this fall on, if people have been pulling the wool over eyes, it's about to come crashing down, okay? So September 7th, it looks like a good day. It's full of trines, but it is a good day to take advantage of, to get very clear, to get very honest, do the work, don't forsake your own truth. Listen, I mean, there's lots of different things going around, but this day, it's full. And we're talking about lots of air as well. It's almost impossible to hone in on one thing. It's probably going to be a very busy day as well. So, you know, September 7th, y'all. Let's see. September 8th, we're holding that energy, okay? Same energy Thursday. Doesn't change very much. Mercury is stationing Thursday, meaning it's slowing down to stop. It gets to 8 degrees, 52 minutes of Libra, and it kind of stops. And this is midnight Thursday going into Friday, September 9th, okay? And then what happens is the moon moves into Pisces. What does that mean? That means full moon territory is coming. Full moon in Pisces. Full moon in Pisces, this could be bizarro world, all right? At the same time this full moon's happening, Mercury's turning retrograde, and this is September 9th, Friday. September 10th is the full moon. Let me see. I'm looking at it. Yeah, Saturday, September 10th, full moon in Pisces. And that's going to be what time? Looks like it's early in the morning. So Friday, we're really, really in full moon territory. And I usually go over the full moon the next video, but I will say this as a little preview. I've already told you on September 9th and 10th, Mercury stationing retrograde. Pisces rules escapism. Pisces rules, it can rule confusion, but it also rules magical, mystical energy, okay? The full moon in Pisces, September 10th, is a culmination of this new moon, August 27th. These themes will reverberate, okay? The full moon also happens to sextile Uranus, which is change, upheaval, things out of left field. So we're talking carnival energy, okay? Like circus energy, not like, there's no good way to say that. It might be very magical. It might be wonderful. There's not really a whole lot of hard aspects during this full moon, except for Uranus and Saturn. That is the undercurrent going through the fall. So what I'm going to do is, I will be back for my full moon in Pisces video. But what I'm going to do is another video that talks about the overview of the fall, because we've got a lot happening. We got some transits that are like, you know, when a guitar player is playing, let's say a piano player is playing a certain chord underneath a song. You almost don't know they're playing this chord. It's the thing that's keeps the continuity. That is the Saturn square to Uranus, okay? And that is getting closer and closer. And it will dominate this fall, as will the eclipses, as will the Mars retrograde. So now that I've said all that, I can let you go, I think. I can say this is the end of the new moon in Virgo video, and wish you all the best. And please get an astrology session with me, because both of my kids need braces. they're very active children in band and volleyball, and this is my livelihood along with being a musician. So I really appreciate it. If you need some planning help, if you need to figure out what's going on in your life, if you need to just talk about who you are as a person, astrology is such a great tool. Don't listen to the naysayers that it's, ridiculous, it's pseudoscience. It's very helpful to help you organize your life, okay? And I can help you with that. Ecstaticastrology.com. Um, Anything else that I need to say? I don't believe so. Anyway, I appreciate all of you tuning in. Always like, share, and subscribe, please. It helps me. I mean, maybe one day I'll be able to monetize my YouTube, and that would help me as well. Ah, and if there's anything I can do for you, always comment. I will answer any questions you have for me. And I put this out there because I like to help. I like to do this. It helps me. It helps me to know the astrology. I hope it helps you. This is free of charge, and I will answer any questions you have. But if you do want to get a session, you can book right on my website, ecstaticastrology.com. All the love for y'all. I will see you at the full moon in Pisces, September, probably come around September 9th. See y'all there.